Hey guys, this is Jamie from Yugiohmcc. I'm actually here today to do a Naturia deck update. I haven't done one in a while. It has changed quite a bit. Some new cards have been added, some have been taken out. So I'll just start with it. I'll start with the monsters. I've got two. Actually no, I've got one Naturia mosquito. It's one thing that's changed. I did have two. I only have one now. Basically, if you've got another face-up Naturia, your opponents cannot attack that Naturia and they have to attack Mosquito, and when they do, they lose the battle damage. I have one Naturia Maron. Basically, when he's normal summoned, you can send one Naturia from your deck to your graveyard and then add two Naturia monsters from your graveyard back to your deck and draw a card. Naturia Pumpkin. Normal summon him, and then it allows you to normal summon any other Naturia monster from your hand. I have a Naturia Spider. This is one card that's changed as well. I've added one in. This card cannot declare an attack unless your opponent activates a spell or trap. But it's a really good card. It's a 4-star 200 attack. So even if they don't activate a spell, so you can't attack, it's really hard for them to get past a 200 attacker. I've added a Naturia Vein. You can tribute this card and send one Naturia monster to negate the activation of your opponent's spell or trap card and destroy it. Before I go any further, I will tell you what type of Naturia deck this is. This is a negating Naturia deck. I've basically made it so it really annoys the opponent by stopping them from doing everything that they can possibly do. I have a Naturia Sunflower. You can tribute this and one other Naturia monster to negate the activation of effect or effect monsters or effect of an effect of a monster your opponent controls and destroy it. It's basically a smaller version of Land Ice. You have a Naturia Cosmo Beat. You can, when your opponent normal summons or sets a monster, you can special summon this guy from your hand, which allows you to then next turn synchro. Naturia White Oak. When this card is targeted by an opponent's card effect, you can send this face-up card you control to the graveyard to special summon 2 level 4 or lower Naturia monsters from your deck. They cannot declare an attack and they are destroyed at the end phase. It's basically if your opponent would activate like a Dark Hole or Fissure, you can send him to die instead if he's going to die anyway, and then special summon 2 as kind of like tokens. They die at end of turn, but it keeps you alive. We have a Naturia Guardian. Basically, when your opponent normal summons a monster, this card gains 300 attack until the end phase, so it's on 1/9. Naturia Horn Needle. When your opponent special summons a monster, you can tribute one face-up Naturia monster you control, accept this card, and destroy the special summon monster. Really messes over opponents' turns when they're trying to synchro special summon. This deck actually sometimes really destroys my characters because it's all about special summoning, normal summoning, and it takes me a lot longer to get monsters out on the field that I want. We have two Naturia Stink Bugs. Basically, when your opponent declares an attack, you can destroy him instead and negate the battle phase. And it's a 3-star tuner. We have two Naturia Butterfly. When your opponent goes for an attack, you can negate it by sending the top card of your deck to the graveyard. You can do that once per turn. So if you've got two, but it's a really useful card and it's a 3-star tuner. Actually, we have 3 of those, sorry, I got mixed behind one. We have 2 Naturia Dragonflies. This card gains 200 attack for every Naturia monster in your graveyard, and it can't be destroyed by an opponent's monster with more than 2000 attack. Which basically, after you've got 6 or 7 Naturias in your graveyard, this guy is pretty much invincible. He's a really amazing card, and you get a lot of Naturias in your graveyard because of the whole tributing to negate effects, etc. 3 Naturia Mantis, the second best card apart from Dragonfly in this deck. I've got to run 3, it works really well at 3. When your opponent normal summons a monster, you can send one Naturia monster from your hand to the graveyard and destroy that monster. So if they've just normal summoning, you can destroy the normal summon and you're leaving them with an empty field. With this deck, most opponents don't get more than 2 monsters on the field because you keep negating everything. Got a Stag Beetle. Once per turn, during the battle step or damage step of this card's attack, when your opponent activates a card or effect, you can select one Naturia monster in your graveyard to special summon it from the graveyard. So you can get Mantis, Dragonfly, Butterfly, you can get anyone that would be useful in whatever situation you're in. And he's really good for when you have Naturia Pumpkin, normal summoning from your hand. The last two cards are not Naturias, they are Gen X, and they are Gen X Ally Reliever. That is because he works really well with this deck. Because if you negate the activation of a spell, trap, or effect monster's effect, you can special summon this guy from your hand, and you do that pretty much every turn with this deck. So he's really easy to get out if he's just in your hand waiting. They're the monsters. Move on to traps. Got a Call of the Haunted, Exterior's Fang. If you control a face-up Naturia, and you have at least one card in your hand, you can negate the activation of your opponent's spell trap card and destroy it, and then send one card from your hand to the graveyard. We have a Dust Tornado, Trap Hole. We have 3 Sakuretsu Armors. As I've said before, this deck's all about annoying your opponent, and Sakuretsu Armor really does that, especially when you're running 3 and they don't expect you to have more than 1 or 2. I find it more useful than Mirror Force in this deck because your opponent only has one monster most of the time with this deck because you're negating it all the time. And the Mirror Force is kind of just a waste of a card because it's for decks where they swarm and they can't swarm with this deck. So there's no point in a Mirror Force. Then you have 3 Lair Wire. Lair Wire you remove from play an insect from your graveyard, and then you can destroy one monster your opponent controls. That's it for the traps. There's some really annoying traps in there for your opponent. Spells this time. We have Naturia Forest. Basically, if you negate the activation of a card your opponent controls, you can add 1 level 3 or lower Naturia from your deck to your hand. So you can add Cosmo Bee, Butterfly, and Synchro next turn, things like that. Insect Neglect. When your opponent declares an attack, you can remove from play 1 insect monster from your graveyard and negate that attack. Verdant Sanctuary. Backyon's Bark. Activate only if you control a face-up Naturia. Your opponent cannot activate traps this turn. So if you're going for a 1-turn kill or a really strong attack, Back into Back will stop him from using Mirror Force and things. Leo Drake's Main. Select one face-up Naturia, and its attack becomes 3000. Till the end phase, that is that card's effect. It's really good for using them two together. Back into Back and Leo Drake's Main is a really good combination for going for a really strong attack and not getting Mirror Forced. Lightning Vortex. Monster Reincarnation. I am going to swap this for a Monster Reborn when I get a hold of one, because it's just a better version of Reincarnation. Spiritual Forest. Each turn a face-up beast type, beast warrior or plant type monster you control that would be destroyed is not. Really useful for things like Vayne and things like that. And Gravekeeper's Serpent. Like I said, it's an annoying deck for your opponent, so each time your opponent attacks with a monster, the opponent must send 1 card from the top of his or her deck to the graveyard. It's a really useful card. It mills their deck and makes it so they're discarding some of the best cards. That's all for the spells and traps. The extra deck is, I was just about to say quite small, but it's not actually. You have a Leo Drake, 3000 beat stick, 2 land ice, negate the activation of a monster's effect by discarding a spell. Really good card. Orient Dragon for banishing the really strong synchros that your opponent might get. Paltool Dragon, a really quick level 7 that you can get out easily. You have a Grenosaurus for the butterflies, things like that, because you end up with like 4 of your Naturias on field, and then you think, I need to summon a few more, I'll just XYZ into something strong. You have a number 34 Terabyte, number 10 Illuminite. Don't use him as much, but he's there just, if it's the perfect chance to use him. And a Wind Up Zenmeister. And the final card is a Naturia Exterior. The last 2 cards that I want for this extra deck are Barkion and Beast, but they're hard to get hold of, and I just can't seem to get hold of them. So if you've got one, let me know, and check out my trade binder, hit me up with a trade. So yeah, that's the Naturia deck profile. I hope you guys enjoyed it. I hope it helped out with whatever you're doing. Subscribe and comment. Thanks guys. See you later.